streaming.
What the fuck? Oh, hey.
Hello. Check. Check.
Hey, we're live now. Hey, we're live.
Oh, we're live?
We're live.
Oh my
You're live.
god, I'm alive?
Hey, did you know? Did you know?
I didn't even know.
Did you know? Did you know that we're live?
I didn't even know. But now I know. So, yeah, my awesome MacBook
You
is
could
not
see.
working.
You could see that awesome power cord
Yeah,
just makes it to the table.
look at that.
It's a limbo. We're doing a limbo contest later.
Yep. And, if Ruby runs into it, things happen.
Well, I mean, Ruby is barely a foot off the ground, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Ruby's the dog, by the way. She's running around the floor. It's a jingle you hear every once in a while. Is she wearing her tags? Is that what? Does she have a collar on?
No.
Oh, that's your tags are jingling. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, just in case I get lost.
The jingle.
And they bring me to
The jingle
vet,
jangle.
And they're like, oh, look at this dog. Hoo!
Oh my god.
What?
Oh my god, you fucking scared me.
Yeah, so.
Maybe I have my volume up too loud. I'm like, yeah, I think that's it. And what happens is I have the volume up so loud on my headset that I end up bringing down the volume on stream, and that's why it's so quiet on stream, and we need to bring it up louder on stream so you guys can hear it. And I can't get it any louder than this. What's going on? I gotta bring the gains up. Gains up. No, that's panning. Where I can't reach and talk at the same time. Oh my god, now the fucking planes sound like they're taking off.
Wow.
That's
when
all
extra,
right,
extra.
extra. That's with the last stream I realized that the audio was a little low, so I'm trying to get it so it's not so low, that it's not so extra in my ears. So you can turn down your mix amp there, and then we could bring up the levels on stream, and you guys will really hear the engines taking off on the computers. What the hell? Why can't I get these levels up? I mean, everything's maxing out.
I think it's Ruby's fault.
No, I think
Ruby.
it's... Here it is. This is the issue. Right here. You need to eat the microphone. Yes, it's been a strange afternoon. So what's up? What's up? It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, you didn't do a stream last week.
Yeah, I mean...
I was here. I was ready to go. What the hell?
Yeah, so I'll get into it. I sold out, and I was just a little sick, and I'm going through it, and I wanted to be here, and I love doing this, and it's just tough sometimes. Like, you need to give yourself a break and just sleep it off. And sometimes you just can't sleep it off.
So what happens? You end up staying awake for 2 days, and then you just sleep for a day.
Yeah, just knock out.
Yeah.
And it's not what I want. This is not what I intended. But this is what happened.
You gotta work through it.
Correct.
So, yeah, I watched back through our stream last week, and you kind of scrape the surface of what your intentions are with this stream, and I think you should reiterate that today.
Okay.
But I think you should, as much or comfortable as you're with, is talk about how you got here and why you're doing this. You mentioned like the healing process and like kind of like as a therapeutic thing for yourself. Um, but like the best you can like follow a timeline that you're comfortable with, and what you're comfortable with talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the timeline is difficult because I don't remember a lot of things. I really don't. What's happening at the moment, I could tell you about. So,
But can you like when did everything start? Like you talk about we were talking earlier just about politics and finances and all that stupid stuff, but like you were saying, oh, I had we had a good job up until a certain time. You were doing well, and like at that point, what year was it? Like what's the process like of that leads you to where you are today? Like you said, you don't remember a lot of it, but do you remember a point where it's like I'm like I can't do this anymore? Like I don't want this life.
you know, I'm still working on that. I think it was 2013, and I ended up in Zucker Hill psych ward for 3 weeks, and they diagnosed me bipolar 2, and it was a little rough to get that news. And like, I think part of it is me not acknowledging that.
So you're saying like you not acknowledging your diagnosis.
Yeah,
So not acknowledge.
that
Yeah.
took a
Or
while.
not accepting it. I mean, so 2013 you get that diagnosis.
Yeah,
What was it again?
bipolar 2.
Bipolar 2.
Yeah, so there's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And bipolar 2 is more on a depression side.
No, my understanding of like bipolar is, I mean, everybody has that kind of pattern in their life where you have your highs and your lows. But most people follow that median line, and they're either slightly above it or slightly below it or right near it.
Yeah,
But when you're bipolar, for just so people who may not understand this, you can go to these extremely high places where you're having the time of your life and you're having fun, and you may not be doing positive things while you're doing that.
right.
And then you have these extreme lows,
Yeah,
and sometimes the lows could be much lower than the highs.
correct.
Correct. So I just want to
Yeah, and that's
clarify that for people
that's
who
a
might not know.
perfect explanation
Yeah.
of what I go through on the day to day. Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm not sure who I'm waking up to, and that's scary. And it's like, do you self medicate? Do you ask for help? Do you, you run through the motions? And, 9 times out of 10, it's just like, you just have to, give it up to God. And, sometimes just take a nap. Because, sleep is so important for people with mental illness.
Well, not even for mental illness. I mean, for your physical well-being, as far like your heart, not just your mind, but all your organs
Correct.
need. They're saying now that you need
They
a
need a
minimum of
break.
7 hours a night.
Yeah.
And so, like, even people who are like, they grind and I put in 15 hours and I sleep 2 hours and then I go back and I'm back at it. I'm like, oh, that's great, but you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
For what? For a small paycheck or a small payoff? I don't get it. I mean, I just spent the last year doing that for a company, and it's
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
is tough, and sometimes we're just like trying to prove a point, and we don't know what the point is. So we're just fighting every day, and it's like I fought 15 years out there, and in the corporate world, and everyone's like, oh, you're so successful, and you have this, and you have that, but I was just completely like miserable.
Yeah. No, I like we touched on that last time, like the whole corporate grind.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was a miserable experience for me as well.
Yeah.
It didn't matter the money, the benefits, the travel, all that stuff was, um, it was just, it's not worth it. It's not appealing to me at all. I'd rather, I, for me, it's about the experience. You know, I collect experiences.
Yeah.
That's really
I can
what it's
definitely
about.
agree with that, and you know that's what I hope I could bring to the table is that I um, I just want people to not struggle like I did or I am, and
Well, I think people are going to, no matter what, they're going to struggle. They're going to have those experiences. It's how they deal with them and understanding them and knowing that they're not alone and that there is help. There is a way to get help, and then it's just having to accept it. And I know like a lot of mental illness, whether it's I know they don't call it schizophrenia anymore, really, but what do they call it? Like the personality disorder. It's much different than obviously bipolar. But what do they call that disorder? It's like
it's called borderline personality.
borderline. That's what I was saying. Borderline personality
Yeah.
disorder. So they used to call it schizophrenia
Yeah.
or something like that. But I think that's more accurate to call it borderline.
Yeah, borderline really encompasses a lot of different things. It encompasses narcissism. It encompasses depression, mania.
Well, what I find frightening about that is, and I know people who have had these issues, and the people that I'm close to, and you see it. The people around them see it. They see the change,
Correct.
but they themselves don't see it or don't see the pattern, and they deny that they have the problem. Therefore, they never get help for the problem.
Right.
And especially when you see somebody like go off the rails and become somebody else and start hearing voices, and like I've had people look at me and say, did you hear that? Did you, and I'm like, no, but you have to calmly be like, well, what did you hear? And you have to sort of give them some, like, or maybe they did hear something, and maybe, all right, maybe I can help you figure out what it was. Maybe you're hearing a radio of a car drive by. Maybe the TV in the next room said it, and you think it was directed at you. And that's like hearing like the people that watch the news and think the news is talking directly to them. That stuff scares me. Like I don't.
It's tough to hear things like um, you're crazy.
Yeah.
That for me is like the number one killer. It's like no, you're crazy.
Well, it's kind of a harsh assessment.
Yeah,
and it's very generalized
it's like
too.
You're.
Because I'm fucking crazy.
Everyone's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point. We just. I'm gonna speak for myself. I just see things different than other people.
Yeah. Make sure you're talking into the microphone because you're kind of talking over
All
here.
right. So, it's difficult to say. I can't speak for anyone else, only myself.
Yeah.
And it's a painful journey,
Yeah.
but it's a journey. And then when you learn a little bit about it, you need to share it,
Yeah.
and you need to help the next person. And that's, to me, it's like, if you withhold information that you've learned along the way, that's the evil.
So, looking back at the the beginning, like I'm going to keep going back to this, is the start of maybe not even when you realized it yourself, but I don't know if maybe somebody's told you a story about an experience they had with you, about you, that, like, what am I trying to say here? Like, when do you like realize that, like, all right, I need help, or do you realize it? Is it other people telling you that you need help? And
I would say it's 50-50.
like, what advice could you give to somebody, like, looking back at the beginning of the process, for you to say, I'm accepting this and I'm going to do something about it? Like, what sign drove you to that, or like, so something that could possibly help somebody and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm experiencing this, maybe I could come out the other side of this and find a way, you know
I think the only thing I could say is, don't hide behind something else. Like, I hid behind my brother's death. I hid behind, um, a couple other things, and it's like, there was no reason for me to do that. So I put the blame on something other than myself,
yeah
and that's a clear indication of the illness. And you know, I don't get involved with politics or religion just for that reason,
yeah
because it's an easy escape,
yeah
because it's out of control.
yeah
And a lot of people don't even know that.
yeah because they're avoiding having a real conversation like we're having right now,
Right.
by just talking about nonsense that's not going to matter in 2 years, 4 years,
Yeah.
6 years. None of it really is going to have a huge consequence on the way we live day to day.
Right.
Maybe some stupid thing will happen, like, there'll be a wall on a border or some dumb like that. But how's that going to affect me here day to day and what I do? It's not. But losing a friend, losing a family member, that could affect you.
Wow.
But like you said, that's again goes back to my whole thing of treating the symptoms and not finding the cause of an issue.
Right. Yeah, and I talk about this a lot, and I say, where I'm not gonna say the country. I'm just saying what I've encountered is that people just want to, um, point the finger. They want to find.
They want to find somebody to blame.
They want to blame
Whether it's
somebody, and then,
yeah,
but it goes deeper.
yeah,
And it's like, now what do we do about it?
mm-hmm.
But they don't really care, because they just incarcerate people.
Yeah, lock them up.
Yeah, lock them
and
up,
forget about it.
and they're gone.
Yeah, like they used to do with autistic people.
And these some geniuses. They're just, and they're people. Like,
Yeah.
don't throw them away.
Yeah.
And that shit pisses me off. Like, I don't know. it's tough, you know, and
So 2013, you you decide. I mean, it's not like you had a decision in this, but you realize that you've got this diagnosis, and then like where do you go from there? What do you do? You said you spent a few weeks in the hospital, but then when you get out of the hospital, where do you go? What do you do?
after that, I went to rehab for 28 days.
So hold on, because back up, because you were given the diagnosis, but you, what you were kind of self medicating at that point. Then if you're going to rehab, obviously you
I've
have
been,
other issues.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I've been self medicating um, for many years.
yeah.
And um, now I'm like, I start to realize what I'm doing. Because before I didn't know. And, so I just took, that road.
So you're just spending that time doing whatever you can to numb the emotions, the feelings, to not have to deal with the things that have happened in your past, or to just try to avoid them, you say, or is it more of just to try to numb the feelings of
Just, yeah,
the depression, the lows?
yes.
So is it when you're on a high, you want to take something that brings you down, and when you're on a low, do you want to take something that brings you up, or is it just like
No,
whatever?
no. I'll
It's just
just go.
alcohol
I
all
just
the
go
way.
lower, lower, lower.
Yeah,
You know, and it's a really, sad place to be.
yeah.
I don't deserve it. The people around me don't deserve it. I have a lot to offer. And knowing all these things, it doesn't stop me from doing what I do.
But do you even at that point? Do you even know how it's affecting the people around you, or are you
Um,
blind to it? You know?
I'm not blind to it. I just, it's about me.
Yeah.
So this is the self-centeredness of, this dis-ease.
Dis-ease. No, that's interesting. So you're saying disease, but you're breaking it down into a dis-ease. So you're saying
dis-ease.
you don't have that that easiness, or that like settled calmness. That is what you're saying. Like I can, stressful situation or something, is going on that's either depressing me or upsetting me, where I could sort of center myself
Right.
and figure out a way to deal with that thought or that emotion in a mature, rational manner, which which is hard for me to see. I mean, yeah, when you're a teenager and stuff, you lash out,
Yeah.
you self-medicate, you do things like that. But as I got into my 20s, I started to realize these things, and I still to this day have those emotional moments where you're just like, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. But for me, it's I don't get angry. I mean, internally, I'm like maybe fuming, but I could take that 10 seconds or whatever it takes is to take a deep breath. My heart might be racing, but on the outside, the words that are coming out of my mouth are calculated and rational. But it took me a long time to get there. I mean, I'm 41 years old now. So, even 10 years ago, I could have, jumped down somebody's throat in a situation and totally, burnt a bridge or destroyed a relationship. And it's not to say that I don't have the capability of doing that today. I've done it recently. But again, it was a calculated decision to do that because it needed to be done. That tie needed to be broken, and that person needed to be put in their place. You know.
Yeah, understood. And
But what you're saying is that that's not there. It's something that you're not even aware of or have control over in that moment.
correct. And is a tough place to be, where you really don't know where you're at, and you think you're right all the time, because the minute I think I'm wrong, that's when that downward spiral just goes further.
Yeah.
Because every bottom has a trap door,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to go there. I've been there, and today it's like I don't want to get there, and to reach out and be 40 years old living with my parents, like I'm my ego is shot.
Yeah. So that's a interesting thing, because you always you talk about your ego a lot,
Yeah.
and um, how do you think like that plays in? How much of that plays into like where you were at, like in 2013, your ego? How does that play into this whole situation, and with the sickness itself, or the dis-ease, as you called it, which I
Yeah.
kind of like that term.
And for myself, what I think is, um, you know, my ego, and ego stands for easing God out. And, like, I need a higher power in my life. If it's God or my brother
Yeah.
looking down, because I should have been dead like 14 years ago. And, to have that feeling and still doing the shit that I'm doing it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to look at that. Now I have to own that. Until I own that, until I'm not trying to prove a point.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing though. Like, so you're trying to prove a point. Who are you trying to prove it to? Is it to yourself? Is it for the
No,
people around you? Or
I look for external validation,
yeah.
and you know whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know.
That's interesting. Like you're saying, external validation is a interesting concept, because I find like over the past several years I've had this mindset, and I think about this a lot. Like, what is motivating me to do something?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I going to go and take this job, or try to make this money, or go on this trip and spend this money? What's the motivation? What am I getting out of it? Is it intrinsic motivation, meaning do I benefit emotionally from this? Does it benefit me intellectually? Does it help expand my mind and my experiences in life? So that's what I see as an intrinsic motivation. And then an extrinsic motivator would be, getting that feedback, on whether it's on social media, or
Right.
am I getting compensated monetarily for this? That's an extrinsic motivator. And I found that like the most rewarding things that I've done in my life have been the because of the intrinsic motivation. You know, um, I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by the validation of other people. What motivates me to go out and do what I do and do the things I do is, does it make me feel good?
Right.
To know, and whether I'm helping somebody else or helping myself,
Wow.
how is that going to make me feel?
Right.
I think that's an important thing, and that's not something that you just know. That's something that like I've read and studied and learned through different philosophies in life, not only religious philosophies, but also business philosophies, and just uh, I don't even know what other philosophies where I got it from, really. It's just been part of conversations that I've had with other successful people, happy people who, I'm not saying they're successful because they're wealthy or whatever, but they're successful because they're happy with where they're at. Whether they live out of the back of their car or on the side of the street,
Yeah.
or they live in a mansion in Connecticut.
You
You
know,
know?
you have to like go through it, I think, to get it.
Yeah.
That's just, just
Or
the,
you know,
just the way I feel.
even being around people who have went through it, but listening to them in a, and I think this is an important thing, in a non-judgmental way, being able
Yeah.
to listen to somebody's experiences and not judge them
Yeah.
for those experiences or how they got there or why they had those experiences, because that doesn't matter. What matters is that they experienced this, and what did they learn from it, and how can that help other people. And that's a lot of why we're here right now talking about this,
Yeah.
is those very reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that these people, who open up to you and let you into their world, they're the most amazing people.
Yeah.
And I want to be one of those people. It's like, I'm going to show you the dirtiest, darkest parts of me. But I just want to help.
Yeah.
So I've been to the dirtiest, darkest parts. And if you need help, just let me know.
Mm.
That's all. And, I'm a very emotional person. Very. And, like tonight, I get to spend the night with my son. And it's like overwhelming. The biggest thing I'm scared of is saying goodbye to him in the morning.
Wow. That's a deep thought, actually. That's pretty deep. But you got to think about it this way, though. It's not so much saying goodbye, but it's I'll see you later. You know,
Correct.
that's an important. I think that's an important way to look at it, and an important view to show him that, you know, when you are like parting ways at that moment, is to be able to say, hey man, see you later. It's not goodbye, it's later, right?
Right. And it's just, I just want more, but that's my
That's clean, man.
ability. That's my disease. It's just I want more, 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 more. So it never ends. It doesn't matter how much I have.
So what you're saying, like, doesn't matter how much time you have with them, you want more. You want it all.
I want it all.
Yeah, that's tough,
and
man.
and that's that's in my head.
Yeah.
So instead of accepting reality, I go to this fantasy land of what I should have, and then that's when I get pissed at people.
Well, it must be like, when you see people out there who are taking things for granted, and taking those experiences and those moments, whether it's with their own child or another loved one, taking that for granted, that must be infuriating, knowing, like, what you're going through, and then having to see somebody who's just like a total asshole or something to their kid, whether going through a separation or whatever, and somebody, the worst I think is the people who weaponize their kids, and
there's no reason for that.
Yeah, that just blows my mind. I can't even fathom that.
You don't do that. But so my son goes to Taekwondo.
Whoa. Ruby. Ruby's in the cables.
So talking to somebody, yesterday at Taekwondo with my son, and we started getting into it, and it's like, I thought this kid had everything together. You would never know. And then he just let it go. He was like, yeah, I've been suffering from depression for years. And I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah, a lot of people just live in secrecy. You know, they. Yeah, I think that's a part of the sickness too, is trying to hide it,
Yeah.
or the dis-ease, as you're calling, because I really like that term.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's, it speaks volumes, and because that's what it feels like. You're always on edge. You're always ready, just like, for me, I'm always ready to like lash out.
Yeah, always
Just,
on the defense.
just to protect myself.
Yeah.
And that's how I stay alive. It's like, and it's not the truth.
Mm.
The truth is letting go and letting things be. And, people like you, I look up to, because it's like, you got something I want.
I mean, everybody's got their issues. I mean, I wouldn't say, I have any like clinical depression or anything like that, but you get depressed, but it's all about how you deal with it. And I've just been blessed with the ability to just brush things off and not take things to heart. You know, I have those moments. I have had my breakdowns, but I have a good support system in my family,
Yeah.
which is a very important thing. And I think if I didn't have that, having somebody who's there and could sort of hold that mirror up to you and say, "Hey, what's going on with you? Are things okay? Are you okay?" And just that simple question, you know, can can do a lot for somebody.
Yeah.
Just not judging them and going, "Hey, I know you, and something's not right with you right now. Are you okay?
Right.
What can I do to help you? Is there anything that can be done for you? Do you need support?" Yeah, and a lot of people, when they see somebody who's going through it, they pull back and they run from it because
Yeah.
they don't want to deal with it.
Of course.
And I mean, I've been in my younger days, I've been guilty of that because I'm too busy to deal with this right now, and I have regrets because of that, and I've lost friends because and you feel like then you have to go through the rest of your life with that regret of going, could I have done something more? And and I've told people that in the past. They're like, well, why are you wasting your time with that person? Why are you doing that? I'm like, because they need somebody, and I'm not going to abandon them. I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm not going to not only let that happen to them and put them through that, I don't want to put myself through that again. So there is some self-serving interest there too, of knowing that if something were to happen to somebody that I cared about, and I could have helped, I could have said something, even if it's just those words of, "Are you okay?" Because like I said, that can do a lot for somebody. No, just knowing that somebody is realizing that they're going through something, and that that you're there, can just be enough to push them in a different direction.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate every word you just said. And, sometimes that's all I want. Tell you the truth, sometimes all I want is a hug.
Yeah, man.
That's it. And it's like, when I can't get it, then I go elsewhere.
And well, yeah, and then you start looking for different types of attention,
Correct.
and usually that ends up with handcuffs or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
or it could be something worse.
Oh, yeah.
If you're lucky, it's just handcuffs and a couple hours in a holding cell. Otherwise, it could go in a completely different direction.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're like, I don't care anymore. And then you find out somebody cares about you, and you're like, holy shit, now I gotta stay.
Yeah.
And, that, so I hit 40 based on that.
Yeah.
So, when I think back to my brother, who took his life at 22, it's like I wasn't able to give him a hug.
Yeah.
And, that shit hurts. And
Yeah, and it's when, like you said, you don't have those people around you who can recognize that issue, that support system, who could say, hey, something's not right here, what can I do for you? And that's, I think a lot of people don't realize that, even in themselves, and then they themselves, with the dis-ease, retreat into themselves, go someplace else, and whether it's going to self-harm or just drinking or seeking some sort of attention somewhere else, going out to a bar and then getting into a fight or doing something crazy like that. And you see that a lot. Just go to Huntington Village, on a Saturday night and sit there and watch people, and you will see several of those people out there that probably just need somebody to give them a hug.
For real.
And
it comes down to just human interaction. And people like me could read other people very quick. And it's like, we know when someone just is hurting.
mm-hmm.
Because, we're hurting all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, every minute of the day we're hurting, and it's like you just gotta fight. And that's why I love comedy. I love it.
Yeah.
Because that's a release.
Yeah.
And, telling jokes, and if I can make people laugh, or, whatever it may be. I really like that.
Yeah.
I like to see people smile. And because I want to be, people to smile at me.
I think if you go into the world of comedy and you look at a majority of the people that are in that, probably have got there through a similar means of, they were, and you hear the stories, like, when they do go into it, they were in some dark places, and they came out the other side and were able to sort of use that outlet to help them heal, whether it's through writing jokes or being able to get up there and just open mic and freestyle it and just be a funny person. I mean,
or
I think everybody has that in them. It just needs to be. It's a to practice.
It's tough.
It's 10,000 hours.
It feels like taking off all your clothes and going in front of a whole.
I know what it's like to get up and perform. Done it most of my life, as far as being a musician, and then in my 20s I was a public speaker, technical speaker, and then the past few years just live streaming and getting on camera, and in some cases in front of millions of viewers, and talking, just being. But my thing is, and my style is always just be yourself, and just tell the truth, and people will respect that. There's two things: people will either respect that, or they'll completely fear it because they can't do it themselves, and then they don't know how to deal with it because they've lived their lives behind a facade. Then they don't even know it. I see that all the time. It's
Yeah.
I mean, I see it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. You know.
Yeah, they can't do it. I mean, it's a weird. It's like a release, and it's a trap at the same time, which is strange to me because I just live in this trap, and
I mean, so you say you live in a trap, but is is there a way out? I mean, short of
there's
chewing your own leg off,
it's not coyote
or do
only,
you hope somebody comes along with a crowbar and helps you pry open the bear trap?
no,
No,
no.
you just
This is my battle.
you're just stuck in the trap.
It's my battle, and you know I'm learning, quickly how to get out.
Yeah,
So, but it's gonna take a little bit of time, and I have issues going on, and I'm just trying to work through it, and that's it, really it. And just tell the truth, because that's
well, I think
been the tough part.
telling the truth. I mean, I think it's important, but being truthful to yourself is more important than anything.
You're correct. Yeah, 100.
Because you don't have to go out and tell like you are now. I mean, I think I commend being able to get on live stream and talk about what you're going through and stuff like that. But to not only to do that, but a lot of people can't admit to themselves when they need help or when they have a problem or that they need to do this themselves, like you're saying now, in order for you to, in your mind, for you to what you're saying. If you tell me if I'm right or wrong here, for you to get through this, you need to do this yourself
Yeah,
to feel the power on the other side.
correct.
But at the same time, you realize that there's help if you need it.
Yeah, and the hardest part is sometimes asking for that help and saying I'm not okay, because all I've been taught is I'm okay. So to say you're not okay
Well,
is
I think
a weakness.
a lot of you're right, and a lot of our society would say that just ignore it and it will go away.
Yeah.
Or you see it all the time. I mean, look where we're at with opioids in this country right now,
Yeah. Oh
because
my God.
everybody's just freaking they ignored it for so long. Well, now you can't anymore because you walk down the street and you see it everywhere. You see that lean, you know, where they just like almost hit the ground but don't hit the ground, and then weeble wobble the other way,
Yeah.
and then try to say that oh, it's I just had too much to drink or something. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
No.
You popped one too many pills, or you shot up, or you did something. You're not on. I had one kid try to tell me, oh, I I just took ecstasy. I mean, no, ecstasy does not do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
your feet are on the ground, but your head and your soles are on the ground at the same time. It's that's not ecstasy, man. That's that's an opioid right there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've lost some close friends, to it, and I understand it.
Yeah.
They just went faster than I'm, going through it, and they're beautiful people. They feel emotions that most people don't feel.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate numb.
So you have to numb out.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but
Well, that's like you said, they're feeling something and you can equate it to a pain.
Mm-hmm.
So they go, well, this makes my hurt knee or hip feel better. Why can't it make my hurt emotions feel better too? And then I think long after their hip is healed or their knee feels better, well, the emotional scars aren't as easy to heal, so they just keep taking that numbing, painkiller, just numb everything, so they don't have to deal with
Yeah,
any pain.
yeah. You don't want to see the world.
Yeah,
You don't want to see it, and because there's a lot of pain out there, and certain people could see pain,
mm.
and it's difficult to see, and you want to help people, but then it's like, you know what, screw it, and then you become one of those people. It's a what do they call it, catch 22,
Yeah,
or a double-edged sword, or whatever it may be, and it's very difficult, and how we deal with it is through drugs, alcohol, um, whatever, and here we are, and to see the guy nodding out on the corner, it's like you stop by, like, just bring him a sandwich if you care. Just give him some,
yeah,
not money.
yeah. Don't. That's the my father and I were having that conversation because he goes into the city, and he's just saying, I'm seeing more and more. I mean, he's been going to the city for 30 years working plus. So he's like, I'm seeing more and more homeless and young homeless on the streets, young female homeless on the streets. And he's like, his friend was like, oh yeah, no, what would Jesus do? Whatever. So he gave the guy money, and I'm not talking like, oh, a couple dollars. This guy, reached into his money clip and gave the guy a significant sum of money that for a whole giving to somebody who's panhandling on the street. But like we're talking about and going, all right, well, you'd be better off taking that money and donating it to a charity that would benefit people that are in those situations that are looking for the help, or like you said, buying the guy a cup of coffee or a sandwich, going to the store, you're buying yourself lunch, buy another sandwich when you're on your way back to the office and just hand it to him. And I've done that before. Um, and the trick is to, like, sometimes they don't want to accept it, is to just, like, I've done it where I've just left it on top of their bag when they're not looking, like, and they turn around,
Yeah.
and I stop down the block and look, they turn around and see the sandwich and they look, they don't know where it came from, but they immediately opened it and ate it.
That's the guy that.
And I saw in one case the guy took it and split it with somebody, with his friend, and they had no idea. I wasn't looking for a credit for it or whatever. I just, you know, as I walked by, I just dumped the sandwich there, like, in the crowd on top of his pile of stuff on the corner there, and just kept walking. And then I stopped at the corner down the road to see. I wanted to see how he would react, like if he was gonna get pissed off and throw it in the trash, or but
Right.
you could
right.
tell he was like, he had no idea where it came
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
And
And that's the thing. Because there's scammers out there also.
yeah, well, that's what you're saying is, like we were saying is, if you just hid them the wad of money, well, they're either gonna go buy a crap load of alcohol with it, drugs, or they're gonna get stabbed, and because they have the money, the wrong person finds out they have it, and they're gonna get killed, and they're gonna take the money,
Yeah.
or they're gonna get the drugs, and somebody's gonna kill them for the drugs or
Right.
something. You could be putting them in more danger than they're already in.
Right.
So I mean, it's one thing to give somebody your spare change or a dollar. They're panhandling there, they're building up the money over time. But to hand somebody $40, $50, that's, you may as well hand them a loaded gun, because they're gonna go buy something, and they're probably, the chances are it's gonna be laced with fentanyl, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, dealing, today is just different with being able to build, a pill press by yourself.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I think we saw the beginning of that, um, in the 90s, the mid to late 90s, where we saw people, pressing their own pills using like a vitamin pill press or something like that. So it looks like something you would give to a little kid,
Well,
and all of a sudden it looks like a Flintstone vitamin, but it's ecstasy or it's
correct.
it's something along those lines, and they're selling it at clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was ecstasy. It was heroin. It was, Advil, Tylenol. And they would press it all together, and then that was called the H bomb,
Yeah.
and they'll give that to you.
Well, I remember, um, like it was probably it was early 2000s, maybe like 2004, 2005, and I used to hang out at this club on the South Shore. I'd shoot pool there and stuff like that in Bayshore. I'm not going to name the name of the clubs or anything. It's not even open, so it doesn't matter. It's called the Funky Fish.
I remember that
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
So I used to shoot pool there. Used to
How
hang
about
out
the
there.
ferry?
Yeah, it was right across from the train station.
YMCA.
Yeah, the train station, Bayshore train station was right across the street. So I got to know a lot of people. A lot of bands played there. So I got to know this guy, and he hung out there a lot. He was in a band that played there on a regular. They had a residence there. And one day, he's like, yo, check this out. And he gives me a little baggie with 2 little pills in it. And he's like, yeah, you just, pop one of these, drink 2 beers, man. You'll feel great, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, you can just have those. And then I'm like, what is, I had no idea. I'm like, what is it? And I think, I don't know if it was Vicodin or what it was. It was some sort of opiate. So I remember I was like, oh, whatever, let me see what this is about. And I took 1 pill and I cut it in half and I popped it and I drank 2 beers. And I'm like, what is this feeling? You know? I It was like,
It was new.
it was new, it was different, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't like take a whole pill,
Thank
and I was
God.
smart enough to, or pop both of them and drink a few beers. I was smart enough to sort of be like, well, cautiously approach it. But then I realized what he was doing, what his intention was to get me hooked on it, so I would come back and buy it from him.
Of course.
He wasn't my friend.
No.
Yeah, he was pretending to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
He was a scumbag who stole my skateboard. Fucker.
He's not mad about the drugs, but he's mad about his skateboard.
Dude, it's a fucking $200 longboard with off-road wheels on it. You could ride this thing on the dirt. Used to get kicked out of Sunken Meadow State Park all the time on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, it's
No, but that was what was going on in early, I mean, it's still going on today, but that was kind of like when I first started seeing it and experiencing it. And then, like you said, I saw my friends who thought this guy was their friend start to go down that path. And, they started with cocaine. And it was always about, like, we'd go out drinking, and, I like to go out after work and have a few beers, shoot pool, play darts, but they would disappear all the time. My friends would be gone, and I'd turn around, I'd be shooting pool with some random people I didn't even know. I would turn around, everybody I went to the bar with would be gone. And I would, well, what the hell? And, I don't know, did we have, yeah, we had cell phones at the time. I don't think there was text messaging yet. But, so I'm calling him. I'm like, yo, where the fuck are you? Like, yo, we'll be back. We just had to go take care of something. Well, they were going to pick up coke, and they were, like, out somewhere, blowing until they were done with whatever fucking dime bag or whatever they bought, because they didn't have money. They weren't buying, like, 8 balls or whatever like that. And then they'd come back, and they'd be completely different people. And they'd be trying, all of a sudden, be getting in the car, and they'd be like, oh, let's go. I'm like, whoa, I'm not going anywhere with you. Like, I'm going home now. They're like, no, we're going to the city. We're gonna go to the clubs. I'm like, yeah, have fun. I'm going home. I got work. Luckily, I mean, I didn't have to work till like 11 a.m. So I worked from 11 to 7 every day. So I could go out until 2 in the morning and still get a good night's sleep and get to work in the morning refreshed and fine. And then, go out and have a few more beers the next night. But I was doing that every night.
What was that story you told me about my boy? I'm not going to mention his name, but I think you won a game of pool.
Oh, no. All right. So, yeah, we were roommates in a house share. And so, again, I didn't have to work the next day. So this wasn't a big deal. This was probably like I had Fridays off and I would hang out. Thursday nights was like my night to go out and shoot pool and do stuff. But this night I decided I'm not going out, spending it at home. I don't want to spend money. It was more of a financial thing than going out. And so he's like, we had a foosball table in the kitchen. And he's like, all right, we'll play foosball. And we used to play all the time. He was pretty good. He goes, if I win, you come to the club with me. If you win, whatever, you just stay home. I'm like, all right, fucker beats me. I was so mad. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, this is going to be interesting. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'll go out. We drive into the city, go to some club. I've never been there before. I don't even know the name. It's one of those clubs. There's no name above anything. It's just a building with a dude standing in front of a door. Like, you wouldn't even know this was a club. We pull up. He had that nice car.
Yeah.
You pull up. No, he had the Passat at this time. It's still a nice Passat. And he pulls up across the street from the club and parks. He walks up to the bouncer, slips the guy, some money. He's like, yo, watch my car. And the guy's like, yeah, all right, no problem. Coat check, go inside. And it's like, at this point, it's like, probably just after midnight when we get there. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, this place isn't even popping yet. It's just getting started. This is the club you go to after the first club, This isn't even the after party club. This is when the party starts. You pre-game it at the known club, whatever, it's Crowbar or some bullshit like that. Then you go to this club where the real party happens, where the underground DJs are, and like it just goes nuts for the rest of the night. And we were there till like 5 a.m. And he disappeared on me. So he probably was the same thing, looking for a Coke or whatever in the bathroom. And all of a sudden, like I'm in one of the side rooms, got myself a little Makers and Coke, and relaxing in one of the chill like side trance rooms or whatever. Where it's not like it's not like that hard house or whatever. It's just like chill music, and I'm just chilling in a lounge, and he comes in with like 3 girls that he just met, and he's like, oh, and they're like fucking, of course they're like a mile a minute. Like, bah, 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 let's see. And then they're back out in the main floor with the heavy fucking... Yeah, constantly wiping their nose and shit like that. I knew it fucking was up. And they're like, yeah, come dance. So I go out to the dance floor with them we dance, and of course they're going crazy. He's trying to get up on the fucking podiums with the go-go dancers, and he doesn't care. I'm just like, dude, I'm done. Like, I was so tired at that point. I went back to the chill room with my Makers and Coke, just relaxing. And then finally, like, probably like 4:35 in the morning, I'm like, where is this guy? I have to go hunt him down again. And he's still like ready to go. He's
cranked.
Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, let's go home. Let's go. We got 45. If we leave now, we'll beat rush hour morning traffic. The reverse commuters, get stuck on the LIE through Queens or some bullshit like that. I'm like, fuck that. Let's get the fuck out of here. So yeah, that's how that story went. I mean,
I love that boy.
Yeah, I have another one of him though. Yeah, he decides that he's like, yo, we got this new guy at work. We're gonna take him out to dinner. Blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, come out. Whatever. I'm paying. We're gonna go get some dinner, and then we're going to this album release party around the corner. I forget the band. Some bullshit band. And we used to all skateboard together at the time. I don't know why, one kid that lived in his house. At this point, he had moved out, and he was living on his own. We all had our own places, and he was renting out a room in the basement to this kid that we skated with, and he's like, "Yeah, we're Team H." I'm like, what, Team H? Because he had these stickers that had like H's on them, and we skated in Huntington. We skated at all the Huntington skate parks. We had the mini ramp in his garage in Huntington, and everybody would come from all these like skate shops around Long Island to skate in Huntington. So we were like, yeah, he's like Team H. Oh, fuck, shut the fuck up. And so I just remember like we go to drink. He drinks too much at dinner. He drinks too much wine, and I'm watching this. So I didn't even finish my first glass of wine at dinner. I just pushed it to the side, and I was like, give me the keys to the car. Because at this point, he had that like $80,000 Phaeton. I'm like, give me the keys. So he gives me the keys. At least he was smart like that. There was no argument there. Because now he's like, oh, I get to really party.
Correct.
He's like, he knew. That's why he brought me along, because he knew that I would be watching and looking for this and take control of the situation. So, he has too much to drink. Then we get pulled over leaving the restaurant, changing parking spots to get closer to the club. So I get a ticket because he didn't have registration on the car because he had just bought it, and he let the temporary or he didn't get the registration sticker from the dealer in time or whatever. Or maybe he did, and he didn't because he's too busy doing other shit. He didn't put it on the car. So I get a ticket because I'm behind the wheel. Whatever. We park. We go to the club. And he's like, he wants a private table. So there's a table there. It says reserved. He's looking around. He's like, well, there's no one sitting there. So he goes over. He takes the reserve sign. He just throws it on the floor across under some other table and sits the fuck down. So I'm like, all right, we're sitting here. We got the reserve booth at the club now. And nobody said anything. We were just at the reserve booth. Didn't pay for it or anything. But now there's like minimum orders. And like when you take I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but when you take a table at a club, you can't just order like 5 drinks. You got to order bottles. You got to get bottle service. Yeah. This motherfucker orders a bottle of Patron.
Oh shit! What'd that cost?
I don't know. Ask his boss. He put it on the company credit card. And I was looking at him like, you should not be doing this right now. This is not
I'm gonna say at least $1.20.
Yeah, per bottle. Well, plus then there was all the other fees, tip, and that's not the only thing he ordered. So then you got to get the mixers and chasers and stuff.
I think it's 60 out of
so
the gate.
By the time we finish up there, he's like trying to hit on some girls outside having a cigarette or whatever, and so now he's so wasted they won't let him back in.
Oh.
Because we were outside and he's just being an idiot, as idiots do. Yep. And so he's like, so I'm like, all right, let's just go get in the car and let's get you home. He's like, no, stumbling all over the place. And then we're walking across the street to some other club, and he's trying to get in, and the bouncer just sees him coming a mile away, and he's just like, no. And the bouncer's looking at me.
He's wobbling.
Yeah. Fucking weeble wobble. Yeah. So the bouncer's looking at me like, you look like you're the reasonable one. Get this motherfucker away from me. So he falls out like on the ground, like mid-sentence. He's just like, boom, onto the ground.
It happens.
So the bouncer starts walking over like he's gonna fucking do something about this. And I was like, I just remember grabbing him he was wearing a leather jacket, grabbing him by the collar. And I was in pretty good shape at the time because I was skateboarding a lot, and I had, worked construction jobs, private. So, I was probably I probably weighed close to like 185 at the time. I've lost a lot of muscle mass just sitting behind a desk for, the past 15 years. But I picked him up with one hand. I forget, he wasn't that big. Jesse wasn't that big.
Yeah, adrenaline kicked in.
I just grabbed him and put him on his feet. And was like, come on, we're going. I walked him like I was taking him to the principal's office or something like that. Like, we're going to the car. I threw him in the back seat of the car, and we drove out of there. I raced the Phaeton that night on the service road of the LIE against a Camaro, like a brand new Camaro. Challenged the Phaeton. No chance.
No.
That Phaeton was sick, and you
Yeah.
drove it.
Yeah.
That thing.
That thing was out of control.
So yeah, what is it? He had the M8 engine in that, right? It was the M8, or was it the W12?
W12.
It was a W12,
Yeah.
and they're small. It's a small cylinders, but it's big engine, a lot of displacement,
Yeah.
and
12 cylinders.
a lot of torque.
Oh my
I
God.
mashed down that gas pedal when we left that light on the service road, because there was that section of the service road where people, like, it just happened that this Camaro pulled up next to me, and he started looking over, and I look over, and he starts revving his engine, and I look at the kid that's next to me, and I'm like, well, should we do this? He's like, yeah, do it, because I knew that I've raced on that section of the LIE before. There's no place for cops to sit. It's just walls on either side of you on the service roads, and you have like a good, and it's way more than a quarter mile, and it's pretty straight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mashed it down, destroyed this Camaro, but then I had to slow down, like, because we were coming up to an intersection. So I hit the brakes. I hit the brakes too hard, and Jesse went flying off the back seat onto the floor. And he's like, "Oh, he's doing!" Oh. And he spent the rest of the ride. Luckily, it was a big floor in that car.
So he just slept on the floor.
Yeah. Got to peel him off the floor of the car when we got back to his house.
Oh.
I don't even know how I got home that night.
I love that boy.
I had to get him into his house and tuck him in. Make sure he had a bucket next to the bed.
I can't even.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably think of 3 other stories along those lines with that guy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it goes back to talking about sicknesses.
I think we should save it for another day.
Yeah.
So I get to spend the night with my boy tonight, and I think I'm gonna get home to him.
Yeah, all right. So you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, and give him a hug, and
Ruby's going to close the show.
Yep.
So I squeeze her hard enough, maybe she'll say something. No, I'm not going to do that to her.
Robert Thursday.
All right.
So thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate it. It was a little heavy today, but up and coming, it's going to be a little more funny. But it gets heavy sometimes. This is real life. All right?
Yeah.
One.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. If you watch this in the video on demand, or the YouTube video that comes up afterwards, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Kevin's channel, and if you know us, hit us up on social media. If you have a story to tell, we'll try to figure out a way to get you in here. We're trying to work out our audio setup for Skype calls and stuff like that. So we're going to keep improving the quality of this as we go, and hopefully it just gets better. But thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. And if you don't see us next week, you'll see us the week after that. So we'll at least try to do it every week or every other week. Twice a month, maybe more, but we'll be back. Peace out, everybody.